Good evening and welcome to News 8's continuing coverage of the California primary. I'm Stephanie Simmons.
And I'm Steve Price. Okay, the polls officially closed 15 minutes ago. We should start getting the first results from the registrar's office any minute now.
We will, of course, bring you those results as soon as we get them into our newsroom, but we start with team coverage for you tonight.
And that team coverage is all about getting those numbers out. How did things go at the polls today? You, the voters, have been out there today. You've been filling out your ballots. You've been dropping them off.
Yeah, it's been a busy day for us here in San Diego County and across the state. Let's get straight over to News 8's Alex Cheney live at the Registrar of Voters office. Alex, what's the latest on your end?
Well, over here at the Registrar of Voters office, let me tell you, it was an easy day to get out to the polls today. I did not see a line at any point here at the Registrar's office, and I think that's because those mail-in ballots just worked so well. People got in, got out really easily. They had a little bit of a ceremony at 8 o'clock when the polls closed. Take a look. There it is. They had a big ceremony. They dropped a whole bunch of red, white, and blue balloons out there to celebrate the end of this primary voting tonight, right at 8 o'clock. We did a big, nice countdown in the lobby there. It was awesome. I got to go back in there just a little bit and see some of the boxes where they get all those ballots, and they will begin that counting tonight. I also was able to grab one of the balloons. I caught up with some voters earlier today, and they told me why it is so important to get out there and exercise your civic duty.
Yeah, I mean, we all need to have our voices heard, representation. Everyone has a different reason for voting for different people. So I want to make sure that my vote gets out there.
I think it's definitely important, especially for the younger people. We're the next coming voice behind all of our grandparents and parents. So we have to be the ones to make the first step and truly appreciate the value of the voting and the difference that it'll make in our community and our state as a whole.
All right, the polls are closed, and that vote counting is beginning right now, and I got a cool balloon to show for it. Back over to you guys.
All those hours of hard work, Alex gets a balloon. Thank you so much. And glad to see that it was pretty steady, which means those mail-in ballots, as Alex was just saying, really came in handy for people.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier for all of us, really, because you don't have to wait in any lines. And then, fortunately, because so many people do mail in their ballots, there aren't long lines. But the process is definitely far from over because now we have to close the polls. So that takes a while because the crews have to clean everything up, and then they'll bring all of the ballots to the registrar's office where they will be counted. However, remember, as long as you are standing in line at 8 o'clock, you are allowed to stand in line and vote. So even though the polls officially close at 8, some of these polling places around San Diego may actually stay open for 15, 20 more minutes just so they can make sure that everybody who was in line at 8 o'clock can go ahead and vote. And then if you mailed your ballot today, which a lot of people did because they waited till the last minute, didn't know who they wanted to vote for, you have 10 days, or 7 days, I should say, for those to get now to the registrar's office. Have to be postmarked by today.
Yes, the
have to arrive
this time.
within a week, but those will be counted as well. So we're going to get some numbers tonight,
yes,
but they will not be the official end-all numbers for sure.
Well, and of course, the big race everyone is watching, not only here in the state of California, but across the country, because this could really have big impacts, is the race for governor. So we're seeing some initial results pouring in. So let's take a look. Steve Hilton was the heavy hitter on the Republican side, 28% of the vote right now. Xavier Becerra was an early lead, leading all of these candidates coming into today. So we're looking like 26%. Tom Steyer, who had the biggest political campaign, so much money behind him, not only with his own money, but a lot of additional funding, 18%. Chad Bianco was former sheriff of Riverside, and then Matt Mayhem, 5%. So it looks like Katie Porter not on there at this moment.
And this is what we were wondering, is a lot of people thought Xavier Becerra would be in the runoff. Then the question is, who comes in second? Is it Steve Hilton? Is it Tom Steyer? But now we see Steve Hilton with the early lead. Just 9% of precincts reporting at this point, but he has 28%. Not really a surprise, though, after what we heard from our political analysts, Laura Fink and Wendy Patrick, because the early tallies that were coming in more heavily Republican than we would normally see in an election. And as they mentioned, part of that is a lot of Democrats really didn't know who they were going to vote for until the very last minute. They wanted to make sure their vote counted. They didn't want to vote for a Katie Porter if they didn't feel she had a legitimate shot, or a Matt Mahan, who you see there had 5% of the vote. And so then it becomes, okay, well, do I vote for Xavier Becerra? Do I vote for Tom Steyer? What do I really even know about them? Because they weren't the initial person who I wanted to vote for.
Yeah.
So now we're seeing these numbers trickle in. You want to say, okay, that's really interesting. But then on the other hand, you say, well, I don't want to read too much into these numbers.
Well, yes, and it's the strategic voting process, as they call it. But coming into this as well, a lot of Democrats were saying, I have my weight behind Xavier Becerra, but I'm still going to wait because he's the one of the many of that group who's held a federal office with President Biden, so former President Biden. So he has the chops, as it were, to hold an office like this, whereas Tom Steyer has not held a political office before, but he has been campaigning heavily and earlier than any of the other candidates because he had the most money. And it seems like, and Newsom has kind of stayed quiet.
Yes.
He said early on, he was kind of disappointed in all of the candidates, but didn't so much poo-poo them. He just didn't really put his weight around someone in particular. So that's why we're seeing so many faces in the field right now.